Hi everybody and welcome back to the Polymer Clay channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make a penguin, and I'm going to take you through step by step and show you all the ways to make a penguin, including little hints and tips on what tools I use, what are good, what are bad, and some things that you can use instead of the more expensive branded tools as well. So without further ado, here we go. Okay, this is what we're starting with today. So I've got all my tools here and my clay here. So this is scrap clay, so it's mixed. I don't have a number for it, but this is like a dark blue colour. It's really pretty. This is the black, and this is just Fimo black in the soft. This one is also scrap clay, and it's just been mixed up. So this is like an orange colour, like a deep orange. And then finally I have the white for the eyes. So fairly simple in terms of the clay today. So what I've got here are the mica powders. This is a blue, aquamarine, and more of a green colour, more of a greeny colour. And this one is by the Colour Shack, and this is called Moon Gold. I'm going to use that one to highlight parts of the penguin. So that's those ones. And then we have the glitters, of course. And this one is sparkling glitter, and this is professional nail art. Forgot to mention in one of my other videos, you can actually buy nail art for polymer clay. It works really well. It's not expensive, so that's quite good. There's sometimes some makeup stores that do quite cheap glitters and things like that. Absolutely perfect for this. This one's like a pearlescent little glitter, and this one is the holographic one. So they're the ones I'll be using out of there. And I've got some extras here because I wasn't too sure of the shading. I've got one here that's like a holographic blue, and I've got one here, this is called Fairy Dust, and it's very, very fine glitter, and I'll be using that on the eyes. I'm just going to go through the other things as well that I'm going to be using. This is a stamping sheet, and it's got like little crosses and sort of like a crossed hatch effect. So I'm going to try that out with the clay today and see what that looks like. This is the cutter that I'm going to be using the base for, so this is the size that I want to go for. And these are the tools that I always use on my videos. I have my tissue blade, my general plastic favourite tool. This is quite a blunt tool, so it's quite nice. And then I have my dotting tool, that's medium, and this one's small. Craft knife, very handy for cutting Fimo and making good blunt cuts. And lastly, my favoured paintbrush, and this is for the mica powders. Okay, so I've just rolled the ball. To get this sort of flat shape, I'm just going to place it into the palm of my hand, place it down, and do a rocking motion backwards and forwards and around. Turn it over and do the same. And what that does is give it a dome shape. So rather than being completely flat, it has nice rounded edges and a domed effect in the middle. And this is for the base, so like that. And then once you've got it to a point where it won't do any more of the rolling, I've got the little roller out here, slightly flattened, but still make sure that you've kept that curved look. Okay, so this is a good size, so I'm just going to press and then twist. You'll know when it's gone straight through the clay as you can hear the different sound. Okay, and then you can lift it up and bring that out. Now to get the clay off, use the tissue blade, blade side down, press and lift, and that comes off fine. Now I'm just softening the edges. I need to do this quite gently because this is a very soft piece of clay, because it has got many mixtures of different brands of clay in it, so I'm generally quite soft with scrap. This is a good way to remove fingerprints. I normally do this sort of motion and around, and that way it takes off all the fingerprints. Okay, so this is the base that I'm going to start with. I'll just pop my hand there for scale, just so you can see roughly how big it is. It isn't very big. I think this is a medium size, to be honest. I don't actually know the dimensions, but this is a really good size for this. So I'm just going to put this aside for a moment and show you what I'm going to do with this one. This is a scrap piece, and I'm just going to show you with lots of different things how you can make patterns without costing a fortune. So this is just the lid of my Fimo liquid, and I'm just going to place the lid onto the top, and you can see it's actually got a really nice pattern to it. So that's that one. Now this is the top of my super glue, and I'm just going to do the same with this, and this does little circles. Now on this is actually textured on the outside, so if you wanted to, you could use the side of it and make little lines. And that's quite a nice effect. And I've got some other ones here. So I've got the end of a slightly larger ball tool. These are fairly cheap and inexpensive, but you can use either side. So you can use the dotting part here, or you can use the other part, which gives you a more of a dent in a circle motion than anything else, like this. I tend to use lots of strange things if I can. So for example, the end of a paintbrush to get quite a nice pattern. Now, these are one of my dotting tools, but I don't use these very often. But they've got a pattern on the side, so if you just roll that along the clay, that actually gives quite a nice sort of almost metally effect. So if you're using grey or silver, you could have like a metal effect over the top, and that would look quite nice. This is another one. This is just a normal ballpoint pen. It's got lots of things in it. It's quite decorative, so I'm going to use the end first. Just pop in lots of dots, and as you can see, it's made quite a nice pattern as well. The top part, that might do something nice. So that has actually given a nice diamond effect. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over, and I'm actually going to use one of the pots I made for my tools, and I'm going to see what this does. I've never tried this before, so I'm going to give it a go now. Okay, so I didn't press too hard, but if I had have done, it would have picked up, I think, a lot more of the design from that. So if you make something on a design like a glass or something like that, you could then use that design and press it onto a piece of clay, and it would have this sort of effect. So there are lots of different ways that you can get prints into polymer clay without spending a fortune. So I thought I'd share that with you. Okay, this is the stamp that I'm going to be using today. This is a texture sheet, that's the correct term for it. So I'm just going to literally press it on and use a fair amount of pressure to make the print on the blue piece of clay, and I'm going to use the roller to do that. Okay, lift gently, and we have a nice circle full of print. I'm just going to lift that with my tissue blade. Again, press down and lift up, press down, lift up, and that way you won't ruin the design. And this is the close-up of it. It's a really nice pattern to have, actually. Okay, so now that it's got pattern on it, I'm going to put some mica powders on and give that the decoration before I do the penguin. I don't know if I've mentioned before, but I always use the lid of the mica powders. There's been a number of times where I've tried to dip the paintbrush into the mica powders and tipped everything everywhere, so I'm very careful now. I take some from here, pop it into the lid, and keep that aside. Okay, so I've just highlighted the outside. quite like that effect, so I'm just going to smooth on around the outside, making sure that I don't press too hard because I don't want the print to fade. And now I'm going to choose a different colour. Okay, now for this one is called Moon Gold, and it's from the Colour Shack. This is the only branded one that I have. These are not branded, unfortunately. And I'm just going to pop this in certain places, not too much, just to highlight. Again, to lift, slide down and lift up, and it all comes up absolutely fine. Okay, so this is how it looks at the moment. It's got a really nice shimmer to it, and it's got some highlighted parts. I really like the colour of that, so it's quite a nice design, I think, as well. Okay, so now I'm going to work out which way round I want it. I think this way round. The print has taken really well to this side, but not quite as much this side, so I'm going to have this as the front. Going to move that to the side. I'm now going to move on to making the penguin. Okay, this is my black clay now. So this is Fimo Soft. As you can see, it is very soft out of the packet. It can work sometimes with building little miniatures. Sometimes it does get too soft. I've had this block for a little while, so it is actually a little bit harder than you'd expect Fimo Soft to be, so that's why I'm using it. Normally I would use Professional or Classic, but they do take an awful lot of conditioning. So I'm just rolling this, making it nice and warm, and pressing at the same time, and that's my technique for making sure that clay is well conditioned. The other way to make sure is quite often clay will get softer on the outside, but it's still quite hard in the middle. Cut it in half, and then quarter, and turn it inside out. That way, you do have to then re-roll. That way you know that both the outside and the inside will be nice and conditioned. Because this is soft Fimo, it won't always get into a perfect ball, and it's basically because every tiny press that you make will make more of an indent than it would do if you were using one of the harder clays. But for the purpose of this, I think it's going to be okay. So place it on the tile, press down using more pressure this side than this side, and roll. And this will get you a nice triangle shape or pear shape. I have the shape now. It looks a bit like that. Don't know if anyone who's watching can remember Weebles. It does resemble that. It's got like a rounded bottom almost, and then a smaller top part. So just smoothing this out a bit. Okay, now I've done that shape, I'm going to put that aside, and I'm going to start work on the feet and the beak. Okay, it's a good idea to make the body first because it depends on how big the feet are going to be. So I think this is going to be fine, so I'm just going to cut that in half and get a rough idea of the size. Okay, I've got two small balls here. I'm just going to press them down with my thumb, both sides. Okay, now I'm going to make a slight indent this side here and this side, and then do the same on this one. And what that does is enable me to pinch the middle and the two sides to get the webbed feet look. Okay, I'm just going to do the same with this one. Pinch the middle and then outsides. Okay, here we are for the feet. I've cut the edges off here. The reason for that is because the base of the penguin isn't too big, so I want the feet to disappear underneath him. And if I had all that clay underneath it, it would probably poke out the other side. So I'm just going to put these on the base and then the penguin on top. Okay, so now I'm going to make the eyes and also the bib, which is going to go the front here, the white part, and then this is for the wings. Okay, so I've changed angles now so you can get a better view of the penguin. He has got a slight bend to his head there, which will be his head, and you'll see the reason for that in just a minute. So I'm just going to make the belly part. Because I rolled that shape nicely, it's come out in the shape that I actually want it. So start with an oblong and then press it down and then roll it out, and it actually comes out fine. It is a little thick, so I might just roll it out a little bit more just to see. So the thickness I actually wanted, then I had to roll it out quite a lot. So I'm going to cut around that so I can actually have the little bit of shape there. White clay is terrible for fluff and showing up absolutely everything, so I'm just scraping off the top part here very gently just to get rid of any bits of fluff there. The other way that you could do this is use a cotton bud with some hot water from a kettle, and that takes it off and then doesn't leave any blade marks, but this is coming off nicely like this, so I'm just going to do it like this time. Okay, because it's quite flat on the tile, I'm going to use the blade to lift. Okay, so there's his belly. You may not be able to see this, but there is actually quite a lot of fluff on here, so I am going to get the boiling hot water and a cotton bud, and I'm just going to clean that up. Okay, so I've got some cotton buds and my boiling hot water. I'm just going to dip and gently squeeze the end and then rub gently on where the fluff is, and this is a sort of a very gentle rolling motion to get rid of the fluff. One little trick, if you are using white clay and you're not too sure if your hands are clean enough, find a small little scrap piece and just press and roll with your fingertips, and just to see if anything comes off, and you'll see it straight away. And this is a good way of actually cleaning your fingertips if you're going to do some white work. So I'm just doing that now, and hopefully this is all okay. That looks all right to me. Okay, so I've just cut a little ball of white in half, just like that, and this will be for the eyes. Just pop one on here. There are his eyes, and I'm just going to do his little eye dots. Now this needs a very tiny piece of black clay, depending on how you want him to look. I like the dot effect. Sometimes it is a little tricky to get the right sizes, but it just takes a little practice. Make him a bit taller, you can stretch it a little bit, and I do want his head on the side, so I think that'll give him a bit of character, a bit of a sweet look. And now I'm going to make his wings. Okay, so I've rolled out some black, just nice and flat, and then I've got a little heart cutter. I'm just going to use that, and this is for the wings. And now I'm going to cut it in half. Okay, so it took some time to get the wings right. This was actually a little too big. I also made the clay a little bit too thick as well, so you could go down a size. Just cut the heart in half, unfortunately, and then use that as the pear shape that you need, and it would go that way up, so you're putting the wing on like that. So that's how I did that. Now I'm going to make his bow tie. Okay, so I've got a little strip. Just going to stretch it a little bit so I can get the more desired thickness. It's almost there. And then, so this part has been squashed in the middle and not on the outside, it's thicker. And I'm just going to press down here. So now it has a bow shape. To complete the bow shape, just pop the strip around the middle, hold gently, and cut off the excess that you don't need there. And roll. One bow tie. Okay, so I'm just going to give some more detail to the bow tie. Just with the flat tool here, press in one line and the other, and then on this side to a point, just like that. And there you have a nice bow tie. Okay, we're going to come back to the bow tie in just a minute. I'm going to do the nose first, or the beak should I say. Now for the bow, sharpen the edges by pinching on the edge there like that. So you've got a bow shape, and press it in slightly. I'm just going to get the fairy dust here, and it's going to go on his eyes. This is actually facial glitter, and you can get these from makeup shops. It's really quite nice on Polymer Clay. So I'm just going to take this, tip it upside down, gently pat on the top of his eyes. Okay, now for my fluffy brush and some mica powders on the feet. This is bright orange. I'll use this glitter here, it's a really pretty orange. I'm just going to scoop up a little bit and pop it here, I think. Just popped a few on my finger, little bits of glitter, and we'll pop on his nose here. Yeah, I've got some jet black mica powder from the Colour Shack. I don't often use this one, but I think the penguin needs a little bit of brightening up a bit. And I'm just going to highlight. So I'm just going to see if I can make a little fish to go with the penguin. Thanks for watching my penguin tutorial. I hope you really enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it. So here is the little penguin. Isn't he just adorable? So he's got a little fish there. I made the little name tag separately so that it would stand up. Unfortunately it did slant in the oven, so I did rescue it quickly and then I've just glued it on. And I don't like using a lot of glue with polymer clay, I just don't think it looks very nice. So on this time I've just covered it up with glitter so you can't really see it. So there we go, penguin with a cute face. Thanks for watching, we'll see you again soon.